Hello everyone, I am Dr. Crowley and welcome to English 101 College Composition. This is the first of two videos that are associated with our first week of work this term. It is expected that you will be attending to these videos, taking notes over the videos with the provided forms, and then submitting those notes as you go through the term so that I have a good sense of what you're paying attention to and how you're paying attention to some of the key concepts in the course. So do keep in mind that I am expecting you to engage with these materials for every week and for every set of assignments that we work through. For this first set of videos, I will be providing just auditory feedback. In the future, there will be a video component to it. But for this week, we will just be doing audio. And it's perfectly fine to listen to this. You don't need to be watching the screen necessarily, although I will from time to time be pointing things out on the screen. So it may be useful to have it handy. Just to orient you real quickly to our basic Brightspace page, you will find on this page links to all of the modules, what are called modules or assignment groupings for the semester, and there's one for every week of the semester up until the portfolio submission at the very end of the term. And it's important to understand that this is where all of the assignments are kept, and this is how you will access all of the basic assignments. What I'm going to walk you through in this video are some assignments and ideas that relate to the first few days of the term. So basically Monday through Wednesday of our first week, or to phrase it another way, items to review on Monday that are due by Wednesday of our first week together. So, as you will see when you come into week one, you will notice that there is an item entitled Course Introductory Activity, which is a discussion topic, and that distinction will be important in a few moments. And also, if you scroll down a little bit, there's Course Introductory Activity Assignment. In this video, I'm going to start by talking about the Course Introductory Assignment, and then we will go back and look at the Course Introductory Discussion. You may ask yourself, what's the distinction between those two things? That will become clearer over the next few minutes. Okay, so what we have in front of us here is the basic introduction that provides the essential context for the course. It also provides the essential documents that you will need to begin your journey through the class. As we go through these videos, you will find that I will often read these instructions to you. I'm not reading to you to be condescending or because I think that you can't read the material. I'm reading the material because one of the things I want to model is active annotation, that is active efforts to comment on the material. So I will be reading what's in the instructions, but I will be talking about the instructions and how to conceive of them, how to follow them. I'll be providing strategies for doing that kind of work all throughout the semester. So it's important to keep in mind that when you watch these videos, that you are taking good notes along the way, either in the provided form or in such a way that you will be able to transcribe those notes into that form in the not too distant future. Okay, so let's just begin with the introduction. Welcome to English 101. This course is an important step toward understanding how writing and writers work at the University of Maine. And that idea that the course is one step in its entirety is really important to keep in mind. So this course sets you down the path of understanding how writing and writers work at the University of Maine. Okay? To be sure, it's not the only step, and you'll be learning more and more about what it means to write at UMaine and what the consequences of that writing are as you move along in your college experience. And so one of the basic ideas we might take from that is the notion that the work you do in this class is going to connect to the work you do in other classes as you move through your program of study at the University of Maine. Okay? Your first assignment for this course will give you a chance to make sense of what English 101 is going to ask of you, what you'll be tasked with doing on a week-to-week basis, and what writing practices you'll be asked to engage in. So you'll get a good sense of what the course will be like by the time you complete the work associated with this course introductory activity. By completing this task, you'll learn the following, and you'll notice a number of bullet points listed here. The bullet points are useful for a number of reasons. One, they indicate the kind of work that's going to be coming up in your not too distant future. Two, there are some key terms and concepts that show up in these bullet points that tend to be relevant to later portions of the class. Okay, so for example, the policies of this course and of UMain. You may not have thought about policies as a term you would relate to a course or a class, and now you understand that that term will be used here quite frequently. The expected workload of the course and how it is distributed during the week is almost certainly going to be distinct from the workload you had in secondary education with respect to your English classes. The role that this course plays in your development at UMain, that is why we are doing this here, how the course will approach writing, and how to make use of these assignment prompts. So there are a number of concepts that are fundamental to the whole course that are wrapped up in this introductory activity. So it's an activity that will cover a lot of ground. So you need to be aware of that as we start out on our journey together this week. So what do I do here with this assignment? Well, this is not due immediately, but this is where we will be going. You are going to read and annotate 3 different documents. English 101, you'll see this says spring 2021. That will be changed to fall 2021 momentarily. So by the time you're actually engaged with this activity, that will say fall 2021. And the portfolio assessment rubric, a crucial document in this class, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, as well as writing at UMain. All 3 of these are crucial documents for the class, and before I even get any further into the reading and annotating directions, I want to take just a few moments to show you those documents. So to access the documents, all you need to do is click on the link, and your a Mac or a PC will download, will take you, to the appropriate file. Here we have the general syllabus for our class that we'll all be working with. And that's something that you'll be reviewing in its entirety. But the fundamental point here is just that you can get to it by clicking on the link. The portfolio assessment rubric is located here. It's just a 1-page document that you will be downloading and saving as a PDF. You'll be using this quite extensively this term. So that's a document you'll want to have at the ready. Let's see here, and then we'll go back and find the writing at UMain document, which is the 3rd document. This is a Word file, I believe, and you will simply download it and open it, and you'll be able to review it on your laptop. Now, the best way to do that is to make sure that you, from the very beginning of the course, kind of download these materials. I would print them off so that I could write on them directly. It's perfectly fine if you want to write on them online, that's okay too, but some of you may find it easier to have the documents literally on hand. So I would recommend doing that. There's a lot of material in those documents. So one of the things you need to understand is that there's a lot of reading and writing associated with your early work in the course. Please read and annotate the English 101 Spring 2021, or I guess Fall 2021 syllabus, the portfolio assessment rubric, as well as writing at UMain. But it's not just reading them. We want to read in a very specific way, and that's detailed here. Paying particular attention to 1, surprising elements of the design of the course. You'll find some very surprising elements, I think. I won't spoil them for you, but there are some things that usually really do get students' attention, so be ready for that. New insights about writing that strike you as you read. That is, the documents will be saying things about writing that maybe you have not considered before, or maybe you have not considered in much detail before, and that's perfectly fine. And 3, parts of the text that generate questions for you. So you read something and you have a question about it. For example, one of the things you will see in the course policy and procedure document, the syllabus, is this idea that there are no grades given for the individual assignments. And you may have questions about that, and that's a very good thing to write down when those questions come up. You've probably annotated in a number of different ways for other classes that you've had in the past. For our purposes, annotate, and notice that word in quotations, that indicates it's a key term, will mean, for starters, to highlight and comment on portions of the text that relate to the elements listed above. So element 1, element 2, element 3. You'll want to do more than simply highlight and add your own thoughts. You should link them directly to those elements that you've been asked to pay attention to. This will help you with the writing that you will submit later. So one of the key ideas here that we want to be aware from the very beginning is that we're not just skimming these documents. We're not just reading them and then running away from them. We are actively annotating throughout the entire reading experience. So there is a great deal of work for you to generate as you go through these documents and work to not just read, but also to annotate them. Now, the reading and annotating of these documents with these 3 points in mind, that's really a fundamental first step in the class. Okay, and that's a step that will require some significant time from you between Monday and Wednesday of our first week together. And it's also work that needs to be completed before you can do the first writing activity that I'm looking for you to submit this term. And that's what I'm going to draw your attention to now. So what I want you to be aware of at this point is that I have taken you to look at the course introductory activity. We haven't gone all the way through it. We've just looked at this reading and annotating section. That's all that's important at the beginning of the week. And one of the first things you will do is read and annotate each of these 3 documents with these 3 particular points in mind. That's one of the basic things you're going to do. And once you do that, I'm going to go back to the week 1 materials now. Once you do that, you will then be ready to go to this other item at the very beginning of week 1 called Course Introductory Activity Discussion Topic. Okay, Course Introductory Activity Discussion Topic. And I'm going to bring that up now. Okay, so the very first thing that you will do once you have read and annotated those 3 documents is turn to this course introductory activity, the discussion. The discussions will happen every week. They will generally be due on the Wednesday of every week. And the discussions are typically a place for us to process and converse about the major documents that are relevant to any particular week in the class. Okay, so let's start right here. In your writing assignment this week, you'll be reading and annotating the portfolio assessment rubric, the English 101 document. Again, this will be fall 2021 by the time you get here, and writing at UMaine. And by this point, it's assumed that you have actually read and annotated those documents. You can certainly finish the video out, but before you undertake this discussion, you'll have carefully gone through those documents, leaving notes for yourself. Okay? So you've read them, you've annotated them. In particular, the prompt asks you to develop generative questions from your reading. And this is something that you'll see more of in a few moments. But one of the basic things we'll be trying to do this week is to come up with some questions about what it is we've read, to be able to identify particular passages in the documents, to quote the document, and hopefully even cite the document, and to say that this material has led me to such and such a question or such and such questions. I have questions about this piece of information in this document. This discussion board is a place for us to come to a shared understanding of what a generative question might be, and to pose some that we can explore together. For your post this week, then, please first describe your working sense of what a generative question might be. So, and I've talked about that already a little bit, but when you encounter the phrase generative question, what does that phrase indicate to you? Okay, what does that phrase indicate to you and why? So being able to explain that in the discussion is quite important. It's fine not to know, but we want to be working towards some sense of what it may mean, that phrase, what that phrase may mean. Okay? The second thing we want to do is pose a generative question from some of your early readings. So something in the reading is leading you to ask a question. What is that question, or what are those questions? Actually ask them. Actually reference the material that's leading you to ask that question or those questions. And 3, note any uncertainties or questions that you have about the work of developing generative questions. Okay, so if you have questions about how it is someone generates the kinds of questions your peers are posting, that's fine. Explain what is confusing, what isn't making sense to you, and what your own context is for understanding the phrase generative question. So that's the first thing that you'll do, is you'll post those comments to our discussion board, and make sure that you're providing good specific details. You know, a few paragraphs here is a pretty good idea. Okay, and you post that, and then what happens is you go back a little bit later and you review your peers' posts, and those will show up between Monday and Wednesday of our first week together, and then you're going to respond. You're going to respond to the discussion, and so this is what it means to respond. So in your second post, the post in which you respond to the writing of your peers, please draw on some passages from the texts you read, the discussions we've had in our synchronous meetings. Now, we don't have synchronous meetings, but you do have your peers' comments on the discussion board, and or the prompt for this week itself to productively respond to a question by your peers. So that doesn't what that essentially means is that you will look through the discussion board, you'll look for some questions your peers are asking, and based on your best understanding of the class and its documents, you will attempt to answer those questions by referencing items that have come up in this class or by referencing phrasing that comes up in those documents. Okay? And that would be your second post. Both of these posts are due by the middle of the week, by Wednesday of this week. Okay. And once you get that far, you will be ready to undertake the work as associated with the second video in this class. And that video will cover work that I would be anticipating from you after you finish this discussion until Friday. So basically from Wednesday until Friday of the first week. Okay, so once you come to the end of this video, make sure you've recorded your notes for the video and make sure you upload your notes to the appropriate assignment, and then you are ready to undertake the work associated with the discussion. That's part of week 1. All right, good luck with the work, and please let me know if there are any questions.